Cyan Vert, the best assassin of the continent, meets a pitiful death after having been betrayed by his own brother, whom he had trusted all his life. If I were given another chance at life, I would live it differently. I would only trust myself and achieve all the things I want on my own without serving anyone else but myself. That is how I was given a second chance at life. The Cyan Vert, a shadow who lived for others, is no more. I will now pave a path on my own. For myself. The story begins with the protagonist recalling his father's oft-repeated words. Serve the clan above all else. These words echoed in his mind amidst the chaos of the battlefield. To him, they signified a life devoid of personal desires, a duty to remain a silent shadow beside his brother. Kneeling on the ground, blood trickled down his face, a stark reminder of the cost of loyalty. Several knights watched him, while one person commented on how a single knight fights off the continent's strongest commanders on his own. The battlefield was surrounded by fallen knights, but a commander and several knights who could still fight surrounded him. The commander of the enemy called him by his name, Cyan Vert. In response, he uttered the commander's name, Boris. Boris had a smug look on his face. Out of thin air, Cyan drew out his sword. He then asked Boris who made him do this to him, and an ominous aura surrounded his body. He asked Boris if it was the Emperor. Boris covered his face with his arm and commented that Cyan's black fog is sickening. Upon witnessing this power, he had confirmed that it was like what the rumors had said. Cyan's aura grew more powerful, while Boris called him an assassin from Mist. Mist is an organization that is like F to the Knights of Light. Boris planned to report to the higher-ups that he got rid of an impure being that was affiliated with the heathens. Cyan replied that Boris should do that when he actually had the mouth left to function after their battle. He threatened Boris that he wouldn't even have a single tooth after he's done with him. Boris advised Cyan that if he plans to use his secret power, he should give up. He told Cyan that there was a 9th star magic barrier cast around the area. In his mind, Cyan knew that he needed to get out of there and reveal the culprit behind it to his brother. With fierce eyes, Cyan declared that he'd just pierced through the barrier. All of a sudden, Cyan was commanded to stop by someone. A reputable man in golden armor arrived. Cyan was surprised and confused to see this familiar person. He recalled what his father always used to say, live for the clan. In addition, his father told him that his brother Ashel is by extension of the clan. Ashel Vert's success is Cyan Vert's success. This man in golden armor had blonde hair and was staring at Cyan. Cyan realized the culprit behind all of it. It was Ashel. This revelation made his legs weak. Ashel commented that Cyan was confused now that he had appeared. Cyan looked at him and asked Ashel about the meaning of all of it. Ashel expressed how Cyan had carried out his duties well for the clan, for the people, and for him. Upon hearing this statement, Cyan knew what was going to happen next. Ashel added that he was just trying to take the burden off his brother's shoulders. Cyan admitted that he didn't understand it and inquired if he had done anything wrong. Ashel pointed out the ominous fog that Cyan was emitting. He described Cyan as nothing more than a murderer. He was even unsure if his brother could still be called human. Ashel raised his voice when he told Cyan that he had fooled them all for a long time. With a hint of anger, he asked Cyan, "Can you really say that you don't know your sins?" The word murderer and sin echoed in Cyan's head. This made him furious as he wondered what the hell Ashel was talking about. The succession fight within the Empire, the Demon King army's raid, the war to unify the continent, Ryan helped Ashel through all of that. All because for Cyan, serving his brother was his life. He punched the ground in anger. Our MC slowly stood up, thinking about how Ashel was now abandoning him. Dark aura was now oozing from his body. Driven by his rage, his fog became more intense as he thought about how he had worked like a dog under Ashel for 20 years. Blood started pooling at his feet, but he didn't care if his whole body broke down. He decided to give everything he had right now, even if it meant he could destroy Ashel. His crimson-red mist covered the whole area, painting the sky red. The knights were shocked to see that he still had that much mana left. It was impossible for a human. Cyan narrated that the hero is trying to kill his younger brother just because he's afraid. He asked Ashel if he wasn't ashamed of himself. This made Ashel furious. The veins on his face became visible. Because of that, Cyan launched at him with incredible speed. He continuously attacked Ashel, who tried to deflect using a sword. Cyan wished for one chance just once was enough. Their fight continued. One chance was all he needed to stab Ashel's weak point and stop him from regenerating. Cyan's attack met a magic barrier. Our MC did not expect for his strongest attack to be blocked by something like this. He checked and saw that Boris had helped Ashel. Ashel called him a poor bastard and stabbed Cyan in the stomach, making Cyan drop his dagger. Ashel told him that he wanted to do the favor of giving him a painless death since he was his brother, but Cyan showed him his true colors. He revealed that he knew Cyan was a demon from the start. He added how it was a good thing he never trusted Cyan to begin with. Cyan's expression revealed how heartbroken he was because of that statement. Ashel kicked him to remove the sword from Cyan's body, and just like that, he left Cyan lying on the ground, his blood pooling underneath him. Cyan wondered if that was his end. He commented on how foolish the life he had lived was as he slowly started to lose his consciousness. He called himself stupid. Yet all of a sudden, he chased after Ashel's back. Ashel sensed him and turned. Cyan was about to hit him. Cyan let out a loud scream as he released all his ging power for that attack. His dagger was inches away from Ashel's throat, but he was interrupted with a powerful force that blew him away. He lost consciousness. Then he heard somebody calling him, "Young Master Cyan." He immediately woke up, sweating profusely, catching his breath. The maid scolded him for sleeping in. She told him to get his act together since he needed to get ready. He was surprised to see Emily. He asked her what she was doing there. Emily was also surprised, and then he realized something. It had been 20 years since he last saw her, and yet she was the same as she was when he last saw her. He noticed the surroundings. He remembered that it was the room he used to live in when he was younger. Even the furniture arrangement was the same, and he thought that maybe he went back to being a child. Emily called him to get his attention. She asked him if he was stalling for time because he didn't want to go for training. She instructed him to make up his mind and get going. The young man had no idea what Emily was talking about. He asked what training she referred to in the Vert clan. Dui-sen looked around and was certain that he was back in the days of the past. He wondered if the situation was what they called life flashing before your eyes just before your death. He remembered 27 years ago. It was during the foundation year, 985, March 1st, a year before he entered the academy. Every year, the DUI holds a dual training session. His father, who is the owner of the Duke Vert, attends the event, making it a very big deal. His opponent was Cran Vert. He was the same age as Cyan. He was his half-brother. Cran's mother, Margaret Erzeth, was the Duke's wife. Thanks to that, Cran received a lot more attention. Despite the fact that they were both the youngest sons, Cyan was considered a bastard and, after being mocked in that fight, became a laughingstock to everyone. The duel was the reason why his father stopped paying attention to him too, Emily whispered and suggested that he should surrender. Young Cyan assured her that it was okay and that he just needed to win in his head. Cyan took that as the maid looking down at him. He sensed something. His weapon, a rapier, was heavy. He figured out that his strength was the same as when he was at that age. The sensation felt like it was not from a dream, nor a memory of his life flashing before his eyes. He had never heard of a magic spell capable of creating such strong illusions. He wondered if he was really back in the past. Cran commented on how his brother didn't run off from the duel. Cannon thought that this could be his chance to change the future. He looked at his father, who declared the start of the match. Cran attacked first while asking him where he was looking. Cran was confident that he would hit him with his sword. Cyan stood there and watched him. He thought how Cran was like a snail. He shifted his stance, and that made Cran surprised. Basically, Cyan just took a step to move on the side, and Cran missed hitting him. This triggered Cran, who commented how Cyan was dodging like a coward. But before Cran could do anything further, Cyan hit his hand, and Cran's sword flew. Then Cyan kicked him on the shin. Cran was in pain and fell to the ground, hugging his knees while groaning loudly. His mother yelled out his name in worry. Cyan thought that now, if he just put his sword on Cran's throat, the duel would be over. He gripped his sword as he thought that wasn't enough. He recalled that when he was at that age, Cran always bullied him as a form of entertainment, and that bullying continued in the academy too. So, Cyan thought that he needed to really stomp him down so that he could never try to do anything like that to him again. Cyan had decided that, in that life, he would pave a path on his own for himself. Cran got terrified, tears streaming down his face. Cran was in pain. The result of the duel was that Cran lost. The Duke ordered Cannon to see him and even freed up a schedule, which made Cyan ponder if his victory in the duel was really that impressive. He even had a high-class knight, Ellen, who was directly affiliated with the Duke, escorting him. He met Margaret Erzeth in the hallway. It looked like she had talked to the Duke about her son. Cyan grinned when he saw her. She looked like she stepped in something unpleasant. He asked her if Cran was okay. She was furious. She told him that he was audacious to ask such a question after beating his brother like that. She told him that he was thick-skinned. She passed by him while saying that it's how duels are. Then he heard her say, "This is why bastards shouldn't be treated like legitimate children." With a devilish grin, Margaret Erzeth continued to say that, like mother, like son, and that his mother was a dirty... She told him that he should be on the streets begging for food instead of daring to put up a fight when he should have just known how to be grateful. Cannon looked back at her with murderous intent. She had crossed the line. He pondered if he should just kill her but stopped himself. A grin flashed on his face. He knew better than anyone how to make her suffer. He planned to torture her slowly, painstakingly. Slowly, he asked her if she was aware that he was going to the academy along with Cran. She asked him what his point was, and then he said, "I'm sure you want your son to graduate with limbs, right? I guess you're not that worried about him. Huh, Duchess?" This triggered her even more. She was about to slap him, calling him a vulgar piece of... Yulin's arm protected Cyan. Yulin apologized to the Duchess. He explained that the Duke called Cyan urgently, so they had to go with a stern expression. He told the Duchess that they would get going. The Duchess remained silent. The Duke's orders were absolute. Cyan peeked from Yulin's back and laughed. He was being protected by the guard knight who was given that order, a knight who wouldn't submit even to the Duke's wife. He thought about how Yulin was nice and reliable. The door opened, and the Duke told them to come in. Cannon entered the room. He greeted the Duke. In his mind, he recalled that it had been almost 15 years since they had met one-on-one. Duke Willius Vert was the great feudal lord of Vus, a western feud of the USI Empire. The world called him by a different name. The guardian of the continent. He was the hero who stopped the invasion of demons for a long time with his remarkable magic power and otherworldly wisdom. That man shouldered a responsibility no one compelled on him until his very death in battle against the invasion of the Demon King's army. All he wanted was peace for the entirety of the continent, but Cyan's memories of him were different as a man who utilized his free will to decide on living his whole life serving others. For Cyan, he was a stupid man. The Duke commented how Cyan's eyes precisely followed the sword and dodged it. Cyan was confused. The Duke explained the scene when Cran ran at him. He looked straight at the path of the swinging sword and turned his body to dodge it. The Duke asked him when he learned how to wield a sword. Cyan thought that, as always, the Duke was sharp. He answered that he wouldn't say he learned it, but he practiced every night on his own. The Duke pressed him for details, since he knew that Cyan never had any interest in swordsmanship. He asked Cyan why he hid such excellent skills. Cyan was embarrassed when he answered that he didn't want to catch others' attention, but the Duke was not convinced. Despite that reason, Cyan went all out at taking down Cran. The Duke continued to speak. He asked Cyan if he also thought that what he did after was unnecessary. The Duke was talking about Cyan kicking Cran on the ground. Cyan thought that the intention behind the Duke's questions seemed pretty probing. He wondered if the Duke was trying to get a feel of what he was capable of. Cyan admitted that he wanted to prove himself. The Duke asked him, "What did you want to prove?" Cyan confidently replied, "That I'm better than Cran. They share the same blood." He concluded that it was the meaning of the duel. The Duke laughed. The Duke praised him for his clear and concise answer that shows off his level-headedness. He didn't know Cyan was so talented. He was delighted. The Duke told him that he will become a great and reliable support for Ashel one day. Cyan then felt the betrayal from his past life. He was confused and disappointed. He wondered why he would become Ash's helper. He thought how it was always the same. The Duke is still obsessed as ever with Ashel. His hand turned into a ball of fists. The Duke told him that he wanted to reward him. So if there's anything he wants, he should just tell him. With sharp eyes, Cyan decided that he'll destroy everything. Everything that Ashel tried to do. He told the Duke what he wanted. A few moments after that, Emily turned pale when she found out that Zan wanted to enter the battlefront. He told Emily that nothing is certain yet. Emily probed him, asking if he's losing his mind or if he has any idea what kind of place that is. She told him that it's swarming with wicked and terrifying demonic beasts all over the place, the western feud of the Yusif Empire. It is the only place in the entire continent to be called a battlefront. Even in the Lima Valley, that can be called the front line, is a ferocious battlefield where battles with demons have been going on for hundreds of years. Because of that, the Duke, who stubbornly opposed it from the start, gave Cyan a condition. He is to become worthy of going to Lima Valley within 1 month. He didn't know on what basis the Duke would decide his worth, yet he thought of raising his physical strength as much as possible in the given time. He's aware that he's still weaker than his peers, but he also appreciates that he's lucky enough to have the same combat sense as he had before regressing, and the little amount of magic he sensed from within him. He knew that if he trained his body as per his capability, he could definitely make good use of it. He decided to start training right away. All of a sudden, his door busted open. A woman entered the room. It was Alice. This lady had blue hair and a stern look on her face. She grabbed him by the collar. Emily greeted Lady Alice, but Alice was rocking Cyan back and forth, asking him if he's gone mad. She heard that he asked their father to send him to the battlefront. Cyan turned pale when he asked Alice to let him go. She left him on the ground. Cyan's soul looked like it left his body. Alice commented that defeating Cray got into Cyan's head. She uttered that it won't. So she demanded that Cyan go to the rooftop at once. At the rooftop, Alice briefed him. She told him that when they drew their swords, she would let him go to the battlefront if he could endure her attacks for 3 minutes. RMC asked Alice if she really had to go that far. Alice was firm. She demanded him to answer one question. She inquired if Cyan is after the family's title. Internally, Cannon was surprised that she's going that far for that reason. He doesn't even have the slightest interest in that. Alice assumed that his silence means yes. She instructed him to draw his sword. Chenna was exasperated. It hasn't been half a day since his duel with Cray. He concluded that his whole day was chaotic. Alice proceeded to attack him. He did not expect that, but he was able to block her attack, which surprised Alice, because that would have been impossible for a 10-year-old. Cyan pondered if she really planned to go all out against her brother, who is 7 years younger than her. Alice stepped back. She was processing what happened. A rapier has a very light blade, yet Cannon cleanly parried off her longsword's attack. She wondered if he just got lucky. She told him that he's got better intuition than she thought. He knew from Alice's expression that he's screwed. Alice went all out on her next attacks. She leapt to attack him, but Cannon was able to block her sword using his rapier. More than that, he was able to slide his sword well so that he was able to position it parallel to her throat. Alice was taken aback. Cyan was struggling. He shifted his sword, but Alice blasted him away. He landed on top of the pillar, breathing heavily. He thought how the situation could go wrong. Had he not twisted his sword midway through, he would have keeled her. Mist's swordsmanship skill Thick Fog mostly consists of skills meant to keel immediately. Cyan admitted to himself that it's hard to fight without keeling because his strength is lacking. He wondered how much time was left. He's compensating for his weak strength by imbuing the sword with his mana, but he's almost at his limit. Alice was breathing heavily too. She called the earth and wine to come to her and act as her sword. Cyan was surprised to witness the 6th star magic. Alice's blade glowed in blue. This is called the Aqua Blade. With a funny look, crying expression, Cannon wondered if Alice was trying to keel him. Alice kept muttering that she can't lose. Cyan could tell by the look in her eyes that it would be the end of him. Since he's positioned on the edge, he anticipated that he'll fall even if he were to block her attack. He decided to trust that his plan would work. With incredible speed, he charged at her first. He ran fast while Alice pointed her sword toward the sky to concentrate her power. Cyan gripped his sword as he begged heck, hoping somebody will come out. Alice is oozing with power. In his mind, Cyan hoped for Yulene to show up. When Alice and Cyan were about to hit each other, Yulene showed up in the middle while screaming, "Stop!" He blocked Alice's sword with his sword while he grabbed Cyan at the back of his neck. Alice's attack caused a huge explosion. Yulene had a serious expression on his face when he called Lady Alice. He told her that she's being harsh against a much younger opponent. Cyan, still dangling from Yin's hand, let out a sigh of relief. He kept on wondering when Ellen would appear. As if she came out of a trance, she gasped and immediately hugged her brother while apologizing. She admitted that she must have lost her mind for a second. Then she cried. Snot came out of her nose. She expressed how much she wanted to stop him from going to the battlefield. Cyan smiled and thought, how it's very much Alice to do that. She always tries so hard with everything. Alice was the elite of the elites who got an S in all subjects in the Royal Academy where all the talented children gathered, whether they be talented in swordsmanship, magic, or other fields of study. On top of that, her beauty was astounding, so people called her God's child from a young age. She was trained in swordsmanship and was mentioned as being the future guardian of the continent, along with the oldest son, Ashel Vert. But not long after joining the Knights of Light, she was keeled. Cyan hugged her back while thinking of how much he missed her. His hug was so tight that it got Alice's attention. In his head, he vowed to protect her this time. Then, she averted her attention to Kulin. She asked if he was the Duke's guardian knight. She was confused since the Duke had just left for the war. Ulin informed her that he's carrying out the Duke's orders to protect the young master for a while, although he couldn't tell her because he's supposed to carry it out in secret. Cyan felt his presence ever since he left the Duke's office. He wondered if Yulene would have not shown himself if he continued to not notice him. He wondered why his father would tell Yulene to follow him secretly all of a sudden. Cyan felt groggy. Alice caught him as he fell asleep. Alice smiled and commented that he's still a little kid. The next day, Alice returned to the academy. Apparently, she had come back just for a bit to see their father before her graduation. Cyan felt the need to become stronger, so he had been focusing on strength training for the past 2 weeks. But 10 push-ups was his limit. He felt like he hit the wall for the past 2 weeks. Back then, he was pretty confident in his strength. He knew this time he needed a solution. Emily knocked on his door to inform him that a package from Emily had arrived. Cyan got excited. Emily brought it out and complained about how it smelled so disgusting. It was Hellhound's blood that he had asked her to get for him. It's a rare item that can only be found in Lamia Valley. But now he figured out that the rumors about it being in the black market were true. The blood of demonic beasts is considered poisonous because of its sickening smell, as well as the feeling of burning upon consumption, but it actually permanently increases the mana and strength of the person who consumes it. Most people think that it's a false rumor, but Cyan knew that it's true based on his past life experience. Emily asked him if he's really going to drink it. He answered yes. In his mind, Emily had nothing to worry about since he's the only person who was able to adapt to her cooking skills. He chugged it down. He was reminded of the first time he remembered it was mushroom soup, and after a single bite, his heart stopped for a moment. Compared to that soup, the blood was nothing. He finished everything and commented that it was good. The power was oozing from his body. He told Emily that he's going out for a walk. He wanted to see if it worked. Our MC stepped outside. He arrived at a mountain overlooking the duchy. It had been a while since he last came there. He had been waiting for it for the last 2 weeks. It was the time when Yulene was not there for his regular reports. He usually visits the place when he wants to be alone. Then, one day, Ashel received a divine revelation from the god of light, Lumel. It said that an ancient temple was hidden somewhere in the mountains. He didn't fully believe it, but there was really a place where the flow of mana was concentrated. And of course, the divine revelation had yet to come. Only Cyan knew about it at the moment. He touched the ground with his hand, and his power traveled in the area. He grinned as he thought how Ashel had no idea what he's doing right now. The ground was shattered, revealing an underground passage. He decided to go inside. He noticed that it was different from last time he was there. That place was an ancient temple that served the god of light, Lumel, until all of the history on that land was erased. It was because of the god of demon war that happened 300 years ago. Who could have ever imagined that the place existed in the mountains just behind the castle? Ahead of him was a glowing sword on a pedestal. It is considered the owner of the temple. 9939 before foundation, August 12th. Humanity finally succeeded in driving out the Demon King's army from VUS. The Demon King's army was far stronger than the humans, but the humans found ancient relics called the gods' weaponry, allowing them to take the win. One of those relics, Duran Dark, was a holy sword blessed by the god of light, Lumel. The sword was deemed the main cause of humanity's victory against the demons, and Cyan would meet his pitiful death in the future due to that sword, which would be possessed by Ashel Vert. He entertained the thought that perhaps Duran Dark had something to do with his regression. He touched the sword, and as expected, nothing happened. He kicked the sword in frustration and uttered that it ruined his mood. He mocked it, saying, "Holy sword, my ass." He decided to take care of his business and then leave. Little did he know, the sword was also annoyed. Once he walked past the light, there was a shadow that felt otherworldly. Cyan found it. At first glance, it looked like a sword shadow, but it was not a shadow. Where there is light, there must be darkness too. He imbued it with his power. It revealed a pathway that led to another room hidden by the altar of light. Our MC opened the door. He saw his sword glowing in red on top of the pedestal. He told his sword that it was nice to see it. Cyan grabbed his sword. It was the demonic sword Karam, the same sword he was wielding before he died. The moment he touched it, it revealed a powerful, ominous aura. He uttered, "Good morning, Cam." But there was no response. So, he wondered if it's still not awake. Still, Cyan was elated. The familiar feeling to him was the best, and it made him want to slay something right there and then. Then, a shadow with sharp eyes appeared on the ground. It asked Cyan if he had no fear. Karam asked if he didn't know what it meant to have woken him up. Cyan nonchalantly answered that he didn't know, and it could be that it meant the sword was his now. The shadow became bigger and more intimidating. It informed Cyan that since he woke up a demonic sword, it was too late to regret it now. The shadow grinned and revealed several pointy teeth. It rushed towards Cyan while claiming that Cyan's body would be owned by him, but Karam was surprised that Cyan casually choked him. Cyan told him that he wasn't that trashy before. The shadow started fading away and revealed a human face. Karam wondered how Cyan could touch him. As if in answer, Cyan reiterated that the sword was his. Karam had pink, long, pointy nails. She attacked Cyan with them while screaming. Off! Cyan lost his grip, and Karam leapt backwards. When Karam was fully revealed, it turned out she was a woman. She asked Cyan who he was. She could see a dark aura surrounding him. She asked if he was the successor. She inquired why she could feel Arunk aura from him. Cyan answered that she was right, and that he was the successor of Aru. He wore a devilish grin and told her that her master was back. He demanded her to bow down. He called her demonic sword, Karam. Karam denied him by saying that he's just a kid. She couldn't accept it. They fought each other. Cyan figured out that words weren't enough. The demonic sword's final goal was to take over the body of the user. That left him no choice. He planned to go easy on her, but then Cyan grinned and activated demonic sword control. All of a sudden, Karam was being pulled to the ground, and the impact made her groan. Cyan told her that he would just say it once. He inquired as to why she wouldn't accept him as her owner while he was still being nice. She gritted her teeth and asked him how he could use that power. He activated demonic sword control again, and that smashed her face to the ground. He did that over and over again until her whole head was already buried deep in the ground. He asked if she was ready to accept now. Karam replied that she accepted. Yet, she called him human. Cyan was about to activate demonic sword control again, but he stopped when Karam corrected herself and called him master. Now that he had taken care of his business in that place, Cyan wondered if it was time for him to go back since he had been gone for too long. Karam, in sword form, expressed that it's been so long since she breathed fresh air. She let herself out from the sword. She looked like a black balloon with eyes, a mouth, and pink hair. She was happy to express that she found it refreshing. She asked for her master's name. Cyan gave his full name. She commented that she had never heard that name before. Once again, she asked if Eru really chose a kid like him. Cyan answered, "Yeah, in my past life." That confused Karam. Cyan explained that he died once before in her mind. Karam thought, "What the hell?" And then she noticed something. They were in front of the other sword. She commented on how he's still sleeping. Cyan commented how the sword would have to wait for 20 years for its owner. Karam commented that Canon talked as if he knew the future. He grabbed his sword and assumed a stance. Out of the blue, he cut the handle of the sword in front of them. Karam was surprised and asked him what he planned to do with it. He had a devilish grin on his face and said that it could make things a bit more interesting in the future. The carriage can be seen moving away from the castle as the sun sets. It then slowed down until it stopped. Cyan is wearing a shield on his chest, unable to believe the day had already come. He thought about how time flies by. Canon greeted the Duke upon his arrival. The Duke told him that it would be the last time he would ask him. He inquired if Cyan was still determined to go to the battlefront. He told Cyan that if he wanted to back out now, he wouldn't stop him. With confidence, Cyan announced that he's certain since his heart already lies at the battlefront. The Duke instructed Yulin to open what he had. Yulin was holding a scroll. Cyan recognized that it was a magic scroll and wondered if they were summoning something. Yulin released the magic scroll, and a creature with flames on its body appeared before them. Its paws had sharp claws. It was a hellhound, low-ranked demonic beast from the Lamea Valley. Cyan thought that his father and the knights must have had a hard time preparing for the test. The knights placed their hands on their swords. Cyan observed that and thought about how the knights are prepared to step in when it becomes dangerous. The Duke told him that he's responsible for his actions. The Duke urged him to prove how strong his resolve is by passing the trial and showing it to them. Yulin thought about this trial. He tightened his grip on his sword. He recalled the time when Cyan invited him for a duel. That time, Cyan explained that there were only 3 days left until the deadline of his promise to his father. He thought that he couldn't just keep swinging his sword in the air. He told Yulin that he wanted to have a sense of a real fight too, so he asked him to help him out. Yulin was hesitant, so he suggested that Cyan duel someone his age like the young master Cran. Cyan explained that for some reason, Cran runs away whenever he sees him. In his head, Yulin thought it was a hassle. Yulin eventually agreed and informed Canon that he would only fight with his sword's sheath and would focus only on defense. He encouraged Cyan to attack him all he wanted. Cyan thanked Yulin and told him he had another favor to ask. The atmosphere changed, and with a serious expression on his face, he told Yulin that whatever happens in the duel, Yulin should not tell the Duke about it. He emphasized that it was an order. This puzzled Yulin. But then Cyan attacked him. Yulin was able to block it with his sword, but he felt that the attack was heavy. He couldn't believe it came from a 10-year-old. Before he could get back to his stance, Canon attacked again. He also noticed how quick Canon moves, and was surprised when suddenly he was out of sight. He wondered when Cyan disappeared, and then he sensed him behind him. He was able to defend just in time as Canon attacked him consecutively. He really took this duel seriously. Yulin gave his all when attacking, but all of it was deflected by Yulin. He mentioned that as he thought he couldn't win against him yet. He thanked Yulin for his hard work. Ken's breathing became shallow and fast. He praised the young master in his mind. He couldn't believe that the weak young master Cyan had grown that much. Back to the present time, Yulin thought that his hunch was right. The young master could overcome the trial. The hellhound moved quickly. Cyan anticipated its attack. It roared loudly as it approached him. Its eyes were focused on Canon. It passed by Cyan. Cyan understood that with his current strength, fighting a monster was still too much. He knew he had to end the battle as quickly as possible. The hellhound prepared to attack again, but Canon had planned to kill it with his next attack. He assumed a combat stance, and when the hellhound charged at him, he targeted its neck. He leapt high in the air and pierced its skull with his sword. The knights couldn't believe their eyes. The Duke was pleased. Cyan looked at the corpse of the hellhound. It was bleeding severely from its neck. He thought that it was a waste, since that much blood could fill a few bottles. But if he did something like that right there, people would think he's crazy. The Duke clapped and praised Cyan for being impressive. He told Cyan, "Then I'll see you at the battlefront." Cyan thanked his father. Karam appeared as small smoke on his shoulder. She fiercely asked him if she looked like a kitchen knife to him. Canon nonchalantly answered, "Of course not. You're a demonic sword. Why would you say that?" Karam replied, "Then use me, damn it." She yelled that she needed blood to gain strength. She looked at the corpse and stuck her tongue out while begging to be allowed to have one gulp. Cyan told her not to worry, and, with murderous intent, told her that soon he would use her to his heart's content. He told her to look forward to it. Karam complained that he should have just woken her up during that time. After a while, an ogre appeared in the northwest. The Duke commanded them to set up a line of defense and take down the ogre right away. He told everyone to leave no one alive. The knights yelled to start the restraint of salvation. A bright yellow mark in the air illuminated the area. A magic circle formed beneath the ogres, and restraints came out of that circle, immobilizing the ogres. The Duke commanded the knights to attack. They sliced up the ogres in the area. The ogres roared loudly, but the knights bravely did their duty. They easily cut down the ogres. Meanwhile, Cyan was mounted on a horse watching them, with Emily behind him, scared to death. She cried tears as she asked the young master why he wanted to come into a place like that. Deep inside, Canon felt nostalgic. The Duke asked him how it feels to be in the front lines. Cyan admitted that he's a bit nervous. The Duke told him that, as he had observed, he would never know when he would die in a place like that. He advised him not to ever let his guard down. Cyan answered that he would keep that in mind. He knew that in the front lines, situations like that were a dime a dozen. There are usually 3 to 4 battles a day, and every battle has its own detailed response manual. With the capable knights as the core, taking care of all the monsters that try to cross the front lines at the base camp, he had observed that the team he was assigned to was in the rearmost area, where it's the safest. The guards in the area were disciplined, and he couldn't see a chance to feed Karam. He wondered if he had to wait until dinner time. He noticed Emily trembling under the blanket. She replied, "Didn't the Duke tell us?" She continued, "We won't know when and where we would die." Cyan asked, "Why won't you pack up and return?" She yelled loudly, "Do you think I can when you can't even do anything without me?" With a slight hint of annoyance, she told him that with the monsters all over the place, if she ran away, who would take care of him? She instructed him to move since it was already time to eat. Cyan asked her about the cape he requested, but Emily just left him in the tent without saying a word. Cyan was holding back his annoyance, but he wondered what would happen if he just chased her away. He couldn't believe that's how she treated her master. Later that night, Cyan lay a doll that looked like him in bed. He covered it in a blanket. It looked like he was sleeping on the bed. He thought that was enough cover. Emily asked him if he plans to exercise even in that place. He answered yes and asked if he woke her up. Her eyes were still closed as she praised him for being diligent. She added that the Duke would be proud of him if he were to find out. He put on his hood and told her that he would be leaving. He asked her to take care of things as usual. As he was about to leave the tent, he briefed her that he was asleep. Sayon knew that since they are in the front lines, the guard duties are strengthened. He ran as fast as he could. If he didn't take that chance, moving around freely would be difficult. He used his skill, Thick Fog, 3 moves, Fog's Descent. He was relying on his memory and went to a place with tons of monsters. It was the perfect place to use Cam. Cam got excited over the strong scent of blood. She told her master that she doesn't think he can hold back. She urged him to move quickly so she could cut something down. Several hellhound monsters attacked them. Cyan agreed with her and promised her that they would do as she pleased. Sen and Karam easily cut down the monsters. They were clearly enjoying this bloodbath. Sen activated Fog sword-rushing Fogstorm, and he cut down several monsters while moving like a tornado. Few moments had passed. He stuck a tube in the monster's corpse. A mug waited at the end of the tube. He drained the blood through this method and then drank the fresh blood. He looked like a madman when he uttered, "This is the stuff." Karam was elated too. She commented that it's the first time she felt so refreshed after waking up. Cyan told her that they will keep training like that. She asked him how long he thought it would take for them to get stronger by killing those mutts. Little did they know, several hellhounds gathered behind them. He sensed the monsters. He assured Karam not to worry, since the night is young and there are plenty of monsters. Karam was getting excited. Ogre hellhounds, giant crocodiles, you name it. That same night, a carriage escorted by several knights was traveling in the mountains. A girl with silver hair was inside the carriage. Someone can be heard saying that the front line is too dangerous. The woman inside the carriage with the girl suggested that they go back. The girl told her not to treat her like a child. She told her that she's the royal princess of the empire. With a hint of annoyance, she asked her how many times she must remind her that she's bound to her duty to assist her father in his tours. She warned her that she would get mad if she mentioned it again. The woman replied that she understood and then changed the topic with the news, saying that the youngest son of the Vert family is on the front lines. She added that he should be around the same age as her. The princess was surprised to hear that Duke Vert brought his youngest son. Her attendant told her that the Duke wasn't really planning to bring the kid, but the kid volunteered himself. Since they are at the same age, the attendant suggested that the princess and the kid should get along. The princess acted as if this didn't interest her. She ended the conversation by saying that she would go to sleep. The attendant respected her wish. After a few heartbeats, the princess asked for the kid's name. The attendant replied that it's Cyan Vert. She repeated the name and took a mental note of it. The face of the princess was then revealed. Waifu candidate number 1 was found. A monster was sliced to its death. The Duke ordered to check if anyone's been injured. It was reported to the Duke that everyone is okay. The Duke praised them for their hard work and ordered everyone to go back. The Duke looked around. He had observed the one who killed the last flying monster, which was Cyan. The Duke asked Cyan how he was adjusting to the front lines. Cyan respectfully answered that he's learning something new every day. It wasn't what the Duke expected, since he thought Cyan would want to hurry back. He commented that his son had endured for quite some time now, and he told him that he's proud of Cyan. That caught Cyan off guard. Before the Duke left, he told Cyan that he had something to talk to him about tomorrow, so he wanted him to come to his tent early in the morning. Cyan was surprised since he had never seen his father's kindness before. The night came and it had an eerie atmosphere. A monster with a long body came out from underground. Fortunately, Cyan was quick on his feet, so he escaped it. It was a death worm. It's gigantic, with the end of its body full of sharp teeth. It usually appears deeper into the valley. Karam uttered that her master must be struggling, so she offered to take over instead, But Cyan wasn't foolish, since he's aware of her schemes. Kairam denied that it was her intention. She promised to just use it for a bit, then she'll allow him to take over. The deathworm's body had a bit of smoke on the rough surfaces. Kairam pointed out that the deathworm immediately regenerates any shallow injuries, so it would be useless to attack it. Cyan knew that she was right and might have to continue forever at that rate. It had already been a month since Cyan went to the front lines. He had drunk the blood of countless demonic beasts, but he felt that still wasn't enough. The deathworm attacked him, and Cyan thought he had no choice. He decided to play along with whatever Kairam was planning for now. Kairam got excited to go wild. She activated Thick Fog, 9th form, demonic sword manifestation. Kairam decided to rip its thick skin with just one swift movement. From Kairam, the deathworm received several injuries on its body. The deathworm bled. The next skill activated was the Fog Sword, 8th, Fluttering Petals. He moved really quick along the body of the deathworm while slicing it. The deathworm was losing its strength. Its blood showered the area until its body got severed into pieces. Meanwhile, the Duke's party investigated a corpse of a monster, and they noticed that it hadn't been long since it was killed. Yoken noticed that the mana was quite imposing. He assumed that it could have been done by a demon. The Duke replied that they couldn't overlook it if there's a demon involved. He instructed everyone to inspect the area and burn the corpse immediately. The Duke inspected it closely. Since the traces of the sword looked familiar, he wondered if it was déjà vu. Then he was called by Ellen to take a look at something. Yolen raised his torch to light up the area. It was a corpse of a deathworm. The Duke was surprised and curious about who would have slain a deathworm like that. This is the same deathworm that our MC had slain. He thought it might be the organization that he knew of. Demonic sword manifestation lets Kairam take over Cyan's body so that she can use her true powers, but she can completely take over Cyan if he lets his guard down. Which is why Cyan thought that letting Kairam take down just one monster is actually insane. He woke up feeling sore all over. He thought that it was a good thing that he drank all that demonic beast blood. Had it been a month ago, his body would have broken down. Kairam suddenly uttered that she got everything now. Cyan couldn't follow what she said. She explained that it was just Cyan's outer appearance that's of a kid, but he doesn't act or talk like one. Kairam noticed that the level at which he handled her is too proficient for a first-timer. He knew the entire geography of the Lamia Valley too, and his sword techniques were that of mists. It was as if he had trained for at least 30 years. Plus, Cyan revealed that he had already died once, which made Kairam certain that he was a regressor. Cyan looked at her like she was a fool. He asked her if it wasn't implied when he told her that he had already died before. He thought he made it obvious enough. Kairam was dumbfounded, then got mad and yelled at him, asking how it was obvious when he hadn't explained. Cyan replied that he was too lazy for that. Kairam changed the topic and commented that killing Cyan must have been hard. She had a few theories on what happened to him. For example, he was killed by the owner of the Durand Ark, and there were two possibilities. He was either killed in a duel or betrayed. She had a strong inkling it was the latter. Cyan asked why. She explained that he looked at the holy sword like he stepped on. She would have been an idiot if she couldn't tell from that. Then she concluded that Cyan's goal must have been revenge. She gave him some advice. If she catches him faltering or losing, she would swallow him up. He smacked her head and reminded her to know her place since he wasn't an idiot. Kairam was left dizzy on the ground. In his head, Cyan remarked that she hadn't changed at all. She was exactly the same as she was in his previous life. Cyan then left the tent. He looked around and wondered what was going on since it seemed chaotic. Emily greeted him in a hurry. He asked her if something had happened. Emily reported that high-level monsters were found near the entrance of the valley. Cyan was slightly nervous, thinking she might be talking about the deathworm. Emily added that it had been so long since there was a sighting of a high-level monster near the camps. Cyan asked if there was anything else that she knew, something that got her confused. Then he asked if there was anything else, such as sightings of a suspicious person or something about Cyan. But before Emily could answer, Oaken called the young master. He informed him that the Duke wanted to see him right away. Cyan was slightly nervous. He thought of the situation as a pain. Cyan couldn't take care of the corpses last night because the soldiers suddenly appeared out of nowhere. He gritted his teeth as he thought his plan of enjoying a quiet life before entering the academy would be ruined. He went to the Duke's tent and greeted him. He assumed his father would notice that he was the one who killed the monsters. The Duke acknowledged his presence. Cyan was worried that he'd be asked about yesterday's incident. The Duke asked him to take a seat. Cyan looked serious and nervous, anticipating the dreadful conversation. He was thinking hard about what kind of excuse he would make. The Duke told him that he'd be direct and straightforward. He asked Kian what he was doing last night. Kian replied that he went to bed early since he was tired. The Duke found that suspicious, since the traces of the sword reminded him of Cyan's sword technique. The Duke started thinking that maybe he was just overthinking it. Cyan inquired why the Duke asked him about that. The Duke was absorbed in his thoughts. He rationalized to himself that it was impossible for a child as young as Cyan to slay a deathworm. Seeing that his father was distracted, he called his attention. His father assumed that Cyan already knew about what happened last night. He decided to look more into it. and suspected that it was the doing of a secret organization, Mist. Cyan pretended that this was the very first time he heard about Mist. The Duke then explained that Mist is an organization that has existed since ancient times. They do not know their goals, but they have assassinated countless nobles under the excuse of purification. They're infamous for leaving behind a black fog wherever they are. One day, they disappeared. They were last seen 100 years ago, but the corpse of the deathworm from last night was shrouded in black fog. Black fog is the trace left behind by Aru, the god of darkness, the very god worshipped by Mist and the source of their power. The Duke has this assumption that it was Mist that slayed the deathworm and the other demonic beasts. Deep inside, Cyan was amazed by his father's ability to pinpoint who the culprit was. Despite the organization having last been seen 3 centuries ago, the Duke admitted that they had no clue about the sudden appearance of Mist, so he advised Cyan to be careful. Nonetheless, the Duke planned to notify the Empire about this and investigate further. With that, Cyan assumed his father had believed in his mind. The Duke thought that it made no sense for Cyan to be involved with such an organization when he was that young. The Duke concluded the topic and went on to ask Cyan if he knew who was visiting them today. Cyan replied that he heard His Majesty would be visiting, but he had no idea it was today. The Duke asked him a favor regarding that. Cyan was slightly nervous with the Duke asking a favor. A few moments later, the horn blew, followed by the announcement that His Majesty, the Emperor, had arrived. All the knights, including the Duke, were on their knees as a sign of respect in greeting His Majesty. The Emperor excitedly called the Duke by his first name. His Majesty descended from his horse, lowered his knees, tapped the Duke on the shoulder, and told him not to be so polite since they were old friends. The Emperor saw Cyan and was indifferent towards him. Cyan greeted His Majesty and introduced himself. The Emperor remarked that for a boy as young as Cyan to be residing in that kind of environment was proof that the Duke's children were different from ordinary ones. Cyan's goofy face appeared when he thought of the favor the Duke had asked. He was scared at first, but it was just to appeal to him as the Duke's son. In his past life, Cyan was always cooped up in the mansion when the Emperor visited. Now Cyan was deeply touched by his father's trust. His Majesty told them that he wanted to introduce someone as well. A young lady stepped out of the carriage. She introduced herself as the 5th princess of the Yusuf Empire. Her name was Aranseus. Cyan recalled that she was the tragic 5th princess. A while ago, the Duke trusted Cyan to escort Princess Aran for the day. When the Duke told him that, Cyan had no idea how the Duke assured him not to worry about anything, since all he had to do was keep her company. The Duke described the princess as being the same age as Cyan, and they'd be seeing each other more often when they entered the academy. Cyan recalled seeing her in his past life, in between classes. The Duke told him that there's no harm in becoming acquainted with someone of the royal family. He expressed that they wanted him to get along with her. Internally, Cyan really didn't want to do it, but he understood his father's intentions. The Duke probably wished that they would develop a friendship like what the Duke had with the Emperor. But Cyan thought that the Duke picked the wrong person for it. Princess Aran can't be his friend. Although Cyan couldn't say anything, since it was a future only known to him, he found it annoying. But he decided to be obedient for now. He paid attention when Prince Aran started talking. The princess asked why the river was red. Cyan confirmed if she was talking about the Blood River. Cyan explained that it was a stream that runs through the entirety of the Limia Valley. There isn't any complex reason as to why the water is red. The demonic beasts who are old or injured and can no longer fairly compete with others for survival will instinctively jump into the Blood River. The demonic beasts' corpses and bodily fluids will then melt into the river, turning it red from the decomposition by the mana. The princess had a shocked, goofy expression after finding out that it's a river where all demonic beasts' bodily fluids and corpses are. Cyan nonchalantly added that the demonic beasts drink and wash in it. He told the princess that it's very disgusting, so he advised her not to go in it. The princess had a disgusted expression when she asked what was at the end of the river. Cyan replied that it's the demon realm. The princess was extremely shocked. She wanted to confirm if it's really the place where the demons live. Cyan decided to tease her with a funny devilish grin. He told her that if she keeps following the river, she might even meet the demon king. The princess was horrified. In his head, Cyan knew no sane person would do that, but he found it amusing to make fun of her. All of a sudden, a bright light appeared that caught all of their attention. The princess asked what it was. Cyan explained that it was the 3rd century post in the west. A yellow light signifies incoming demonic beasts. The princess was surprised to hear that there are demonic beasts there. The Duke immediately gave an order to protect the Emperor, and the Guardian Knight Division troops would go with him to the 3rd century post in the west. The Emperor told the Duke, "Don't be like that, Viler." The Duke was confused. He asked the Emperor if he thought he was there for a hike. He added that he was feeling bored, and to prove his point, the Emperor unsheathed his sword. The Duke sighed and accepted the Emperor's wishes. The Emperor ordered his knights that they would join the demonic beast raid. He commanded them to focus on killing the demonic beasts until the raid was over. The Duke ordered Cyan to join, to which Cyan immediately agreed. The princess asked him if he could fight the demonic beasts. Cyan answered yes and shared that he'd still be supporting from the back. He told the princess to get back to the shelter. Unexpectedly, the princess demanded to be taken with him. In his head, Kyan wondered what the hell that kid was saying. The princess insisted that they're the same age, so she can come too. With a bored expression, Cyan told her that people die in battle, and he emphasized that it's not a playground. The princess did not back down with her demand. Cyan was holding back his annoyance when he called Yulin. Yulin appeared and uttered that he would substitute the royal knights and escort her highness to safety in the camps. Yulin invited the princess to go. The princess looked at him as if intimidated. She pointed her finger at Cyan and called him impudent for daring to treat her, a princess, that way. He got closer to her, his eyes wide and his tone firm when he told her that dozens of knights might die because of her stubbornness. He added that a split-second decision could decide her fate, either dying or surviving in a war. Being extremely intimidating, he asked her if she could take responsibility for all those lives. The princess became teary-eyed. When he was about to leave, he told her to go back if she's going to cry like a child. The princess, Yulin, and the maid were left standing there. The monsters were in the area, and it looked like a giant slime that had gobbled up several humans. The Duke ordered them not to fall back. When they were close to the monster, he instructed everyone to halt so they could get back to formation. Then he commanded for everyone to protect His Majesty and slay all the monsters, sparing not even a single one. In high spirits, everyone got moving. Cyan observed that the Emperor of the Yusuf Empire had 2 wives. Diana Quisel was the first wife, but she is now dead. Cassandra Nepelus is the second wife, and considered the prominent judiciary of the empire. The former empress gave birth to the first and second princesses, and the current empress gave birth to the third prince and fourth prince. However, Erin Severus, the fifth princess, was a bastardized daughter born to some peasant mistress. People treated her like a scarecrow of a princess because of her mixed blood, but she did not care about how others perceived her. She fulfilled her duty as a part of the royal family and devoted herself to her studies more than anyone. However, she was framed for treason by those who resented her and was kicked out of the royal family and the empire. Rumor spread that she died alone from a disease on an island. Because of that, people called her the tragic princess. She could have lived a happy life had she not been betrayed. It would have been better for her to live without any ambition. Karam showed up and told Cyan that it was what the Duke kept telling him about his past life. Cyan explained that it's different, since what the princess encountered were royal politics. Lightning struck a monster. He watched several more lightning strikes from a distance. Cyan commented that the Emperor is a skilled person. The Emperor had the ability called Holy Lightning. Several lightnings struck the ground and killed the monsters. Emperor Diani is known to the public for being a star in magic rank. Had he not become an emperor, he probably would have been the Mage Association's head. Cyan had a funny expression on his face when he thought that an intermediate-ranked demonic beast is not a problem for the Emperor. He also thought that being an emperor was just his hobby. After that short battle, an expensive liquor was served, and the Emperor commented that it had been a while since he shared a drink with his friend Vyler. But His Majesty felt quite lonesome, as he was the only one drinking. The Duke apologized and explained that he doesn't drink when he's at the front lines. The Emperor expressed that he was reminded when the Duke asked him about the current atmosphere in the Empire. He shared that there had been a recent spike in assassinations of nobles, and it's causing a lot of anxiety. The Duke asked if there were any patterns in those assassinations. The Emperor replied yes. All of the assassinated nobles were corrupt officials, and black fog was present at all of the murder scenes. The Emperor inquired if the Duke had any idea. The Duke shared that he found traces of them at the battlefront. It seemed like the Mist followers have been on the move again. The Emperor answered that it made sense, but instructed the Duke to look into it more. The Emperor expressed that he appreciated the Duke for taking care of the garbage, but he can't just sit by and watch as the people grow more anxious. The Emperor shared that there's something else that concerns him. It was because some damn noble was blabbering that everything was the fifth princess's fault. The Duke wanted to verify if the Emperor meant that there were people trying to tie Princess Erin to those incidents. The Emperor shared that he suppressed them by shrugging it off as nonsense, but it seemed like there's a group that wants to use her. The Emperor asked the Duke for a favor, as a friend and not as an emperor. He told him that if he ends up dying before the Duke, he requested for the Duke to take care of that child. Willius Vert responded that he will carry out His Majesty's orders to completion. The Emperor thanked him. Later that day, rain started pouring down, and everyone was inside their tent, including Emily, who was confused if that was everything. Cyan asked her what more she expected. Emily emphasized that it was a princess, and he left her just like that. Emily scolded him by commenting that he won't ever get married if that went on in his mind. Cyan thought that what he did wasn't even a date. He was about to leave and entrusted Emily with everything while he's gone. Emily asked if he's really going to train again when it's raining so hard. Cyan assured her that it's fine. Little did he know that there's someone standing outside his tent. Emily was surprised when she saw it. She asked who it was. This girl removed her hood and asked Cyan where he was going. It was Princess Erin, and she invited Cyan for a chat if he was not busy. Emily was pumped up to see Her Highness. She looked like a fangirl. They went inside the tent. Outside, the royal knights guarded it. Princess Erin inquired as to how long it had been since Kyan got there. He told her that it had been a month. He asked her why she came to see him. Princess Erin hesitated to answer. She then asked if the maid can be excused for a while since she keeps staring with dopey eyes. Cyan asked her to go outside for a bit. Emily went out, and her statement that they should have a good time together confused the two. Then she was fully gone. Funny enough, in his head, Kyan thought that it was a big no to have a good time with a 10-year-old. Princess Erin blushed as she apologized for what happened earlier. She admitted that her actions were unbefitting of a princess. Kyan assured her not to worry about it. He apologized for being rude to her. She laughed and expressed that she would have said the same thing if she were in his place. She commented that Cyan is acknowledged by a lot of people, unlike her, and he's a lot more mature. From her words, Cyan understood her personality. Princess Erin asked if he's entering the academy too, and she was about to offer friendship, but before she could finish her sentence, Kyan cut her off with an apology as he told her that he believes that he won't be any help to her. The princess was rattled to the core upon hearing that. Then Kyan told her that if she's there to make friends, she should just leave. Princess Erin told him that she wanted them to be on good terms, and he's being harsh, even with tears streaming down her face. She had a menacing aura as she asked him if he also thinks of her as a shell of a princess. Cyan remained silent. Then the princess backed off by saying that she understood that there's no benefit in being friends with her. Then she apologized for wasting his time. She expressed that she was short-sighted for thinking that they could at least talk. Then she told him that he's completely different from Sir Ashel. That struck a nerve in Cyan. It evoked certain feelings in him. He grabbed her arm. Princess Erin yelled, "What's wrong with him?" But Cyan had murderous eyes as he inquired how she knew his brother. She explained that she got to know him when she was touring the Royal Academy last year, and he advised her not to care about what others think, and that she should just fulfill her role as a princess. In his mind, Cyan thought that, as if it was advice, he knew that demonic bastard's personality better than anyone. Then he realized that it all had begun when his brother met Princess Erin. He was pertaining to the plan to bring down Princess Erin, Cyan warned the princess, but their conversation got cut off with a loud noise. Immediately, Emily ran inside the tent. She told him to run, but the roof of the tent had already been broken, and then there was a loud impact from an attack. The knights cursed as they watched a gigantic ogre swing its bat-like weapon in the young master's tent. They hurried to check the condition of the young master. Emily saw the weapon that pierced the ground. Her tears fell as she was overwhelmed with worry. She loudly called out to the young master. The monster's features were then revealed. This one looked like a giant ogre. The scene then shifted towards this place where the Emperor's voice was heard as he was surprised. They just received the report that those advanced ranked demonic beasts ambushed the rear camps of the border regions, and the princess was there when it happened. The Emperor immediately gave an order for everyone in the Imperial Army to head to the rear camps. Their priority is to secure the safety of the princess. The Emperor wondered who she was going to see in the rear camp. Several ogres were there. Cyan, our MC, was still alive. He watched them behind the debris. Deathworms were in the mix too. He, Emily, Princess Erin, and other knights were hiding behind a rock. Those monsters should only be in the deeper regions of the valley, but for them to be in the rear camp, Cyan assumed that something must have changed. He wondered if it was because of him. Emily called his attention. She sobbed as she thought that he's really dead. That made her promise not to leave his side again. Earlier, the roof of the tent came crashing down. Cyan immediately ran towards the princess to protect her, Cyan thought. How back in his day, he even killed the Demon King. So, as if he'd die now from a mere ogre, Princess Erin was worried about the knights at the camp. Emily assured her that the knights are really strong. She held back her tears as she blamed herself now that the knights that came with her were in danger because she went to the rear camps. The knights assured her that they're okay, and it's a given that they would protect her as the knights of the Empire. The other knights second a motion to assure the princess. Spoiler alert. These were this guy's last words. Cyan sensed something, and he immediately yelled for everyone to move. The knight was confused. He did not know that the ogre's hand was about to grab him. The hand squeezed the knight to the point that he coughed up blood. The owner of that hand is a gigantic, menacing ogre. The princess was horrified. Cyan immediately leapt in front of her and ordered her to get back. The ogre smiled. Cyan had confirmed his suspicion. The ogre is after him. He told them that he will distract them while they run away with the princess. Emily passionately replied, "Okay." And it was funny how it left Cyan dumbfounded. Emily grabbed the princess and she asked the knight why he was just standing there. It was comical how Cyan was slightly annoyed by this bitch's eagerness to leave. The ogre demanded C's attention when it roared loudly. Our MC unsheathed his sword. He leapt high and slashed the ogre in its arm. This made Cyan wonder why the advanced rank demonic beasts are attracted to him. It felt like they smelled something from him. Karam laughed. She told him that he drank the blood of countless demonic beasts in order to become strong, and that's why he reeked of them. It would be weird if they didn't come after him. Cyan was surprised and slightly annoyed that Karam knew about it. and she only told him about it just now. Karam grinned at him and asked if he forgot that she wanted his body. Our Emmett grabbed her tightly and made her groan, and then Cayenne assumed a combat stance. Cam asked what he was doing and requested for him to treat her better, to which Cannon replied, "Shut up." He stood in front of the ferocious ogre and uttered that. He doesn't care how many monsters would come at him. He attacked while the ogre also did the same, but he was quick and sliced its arm before it had the chance to hit him. It roared loudly because of the pain, and then he followed it with another attack. His attacks ended, and the ogre faced its defeat. Cyan sensed that no one was watching now, so he decided to sip on some advanced rank demonic beast blood. Karam got excited over the feast that they would have, but Cyan saw something that shocked him. A large purple claw landed on the edge of the cliff. It was from a devil dragon. The devil dragon roared loudly. Karam told him that it's still a baby and must have smelled him, but Cannon didn't care why the dragon was there. He activated the demonic swordman skill to him. What mattered was catching that devil dragon. Now that Karam controls his body, he stated that she needs to catch that dragon, but he corrected himself and told her to eat it. Meanwhile, the other ogres faced the lightning of the Emperor. The ogre fell, and the Emperor asked Villar if that was the last ogre. The Duke answered that it seemed so, but the Emperor wasn't pleased. He asked about the princess and the Duke's son. The Duke apologized since he couldn't find any traces past the tent. The Emperor told him that it's fine since he knew the Duke was also worried for his son. The Duke replied that there's no need to worry about him, as what matters at that moment is the princess. The Emperor had a funny expression on his face, one that conveyed he was about to scold the Duke, but he commented that the Duke was being cold. The Duke replied that a vassal should know how to watch out for himself. A knight reported that they found the princess. The Emperor asked if he was really sure. Then, the princess appeared. The Emperor immediately called out her name. He grabbed her shoulder as he inquired if she was hurt, but Princess Arin was in panic as she informed his father that they had to hurry and save him. The Emperor asked who she was referring to. Princess Arin cried as she told him it's Cyan, and she blamed herself. Behind the Emperor was the Duke, who had a stiff posture. The Emperor asked the princess to calm down and tell him what's going on. The Duke approached Emily and inquired if she was Sion's maid with a scary expression. The Duke asked her if something happened to Si. Emily trembled in fear. She had never seen the Duke being that scary before. She stuttered as she explained that the young master acted as bait to give them time to run away. The Duke's brows furrowed. The knight informed them that he remembered where Cannon's last location was. He told them that if they gave him permission, he would go with the others to save the young master. The Emperor asked Villar what he was waiting for. He told him to hurry. The Duke looked menacing when he replied that they are not going to do that. Princess Arin was surprised. The Emperor asked if he was serious. The Duke prioritized taking care of the situation first, because if the camps fell, the demonic beasts would invade the Empire. He told them that they should reconstruct the place right away, and that is the only way to prevent more deaths. Emily's tears fell as she asked, "What about the young master?" The knight gritted his teeth. The Duke replied that Cannon had done his duty by helping the princess evacuate, and that is what it's like to be a vassal. The Emperor was sullen. Princess Arin, too, blamed herself. All of a sudden, they heard a loud monster cry. It went on, and they turned their attention up high. They saw the dragon flying in the sky. Princess Arin couldn't believe her eyes. There was a person on top of the dragon. Upon closer look, Cyan was holding onto the dragon's leg while it was flying. He looked funny as he grabbed it tightly while silently crying about his situation. Dragons are creatures that are closest to the Creator. They are very rare and noble creatures. Inferior beings like humans dare not easily approach them. Cyan thought about how it's an honor to come across such a high and mighty creature, but he questioned why it had to fly over the very people that he didn't want to be seen by. It flew over Arin. She yelled Cyan's name. His Majesty couldn't believe a dragon appeared, and on top of that, he questioned Villar on why his son was on top of a dragon. The Emperor was in panic, but Villar just stood there. The Emperor questioned him on what he was doing and if he wasn't going to save him. Cyan internally cursed because all he wanted to do was drink its blood. He didn't expect that to happen earlier. The evil dragon appeared. He told Karam that she had to eat it, but a swarm of random monsters appeared before Cyan, who was possessed by Karam. Cyan told them that he didn't have any time to waste. The fog sword, rushing, the fog storm was activated, slicing several monsters all at once. He landed on the ground right in front of the dragon. He uttered that the dragon is definitely not fully grown. The dragon opened its mouth to release a laser beam. It was a big attack and shattered the ground on its way. Cannon told the dragon that it was rude for spitting on his face on their first meeting. He added that it can take his sword to the face. Then he slashed the dragon right at its eye. The cut bled, and it made the dragon angry. Its sudden movement blasted Cyan away, and then it chased after Cannon. But that just made Cyan, possessed by Karam, grin. He had an attack on his sleeve, the 8 fluttering petal. It caused a massive explosion that shattered the ground, but he admitted that he can't take on a dragon just yet because his shoulders became sore. He decided to wrap it up. The dragon flapped its wings in front of C, creating a gust of wind. He told himself that he wouldn't fall for the same trick twice, but he noticed something. It was a funny scene between them. The dragon scurried away from him. He was in shock that it happened. He called the dragon a lizzlebard that's running away. He couldn't just let the dragon go, so he jumped so high to chase it, which brings him to his current dilemma. Now, he contemplated that maybe he used up all of his luck coming across the dragon,